Hey, it's me. I'm Brett. I'm a writer, author, and book coach. Let's talk about some of the most asked questions by aspiring authors. Number one, how do I stay motivated and finish my book? That's a great question. Writing a book is a marathon. It is not something that you do quickly. It is not something that you do in like quick sprints. Like, it is a marathon. It is going to take you months at least. Like, typically when I write, it takes me at least 2 months to write a manuscript, and that is like pretty fast. And that's like shooting for a target between 60 and 80,000 words, because I know that I'll add more in like my alpha and beta reviews and all that kind of stuff. The best advice I have when it comes to like how do I stay motivated? Don't rely on motivation. Motivation is terrible. It's fickle. It's the wind. It comes and it goes. Like, you can't rely on it. You don't want to stay motivated. You want to stay disciplined. Discipline is the way that you finish a story. And that is setting goals, setting truly achievable goals. It's all about breaking it down and making sure that you're giving yourself dedicated time. Even if it's just like by time, like, hey, every day on my lunch break, I'm going to take 30 minutes where I turn my phone off and I focus on the story. A tip for me is I typically I try and get like 10 to 15 minutes at the very start of the day where I'm like, okay, this is the chapter that I'm working on. This is the scene. This is the characters. And I write a little bit and then I let that cook all day. And in the back of my head, it's like kind of playing. And then during lunch break or afternoon or after I put my kids down, then I'm like, okay, this has been cooking all day. It's been formulating all day. I know what I'm going to write about. Boom, done. But again, it's not about motivation. It's about discipline. You have to make sure that you are staying disciplined. And that is setting achievable goals, whether that's a daily word count or a weekly word count or whatever. You need to set goals. They need to be achievable and you need to stick to it. Because if you don't stick to it, the story's never going to get done. Writing 10 words a day is better than nothing. So set your goal, stick to it, stay disciplined. How long should my book be? It really depends. It depends on who you're writing for. It depends on your genre. Typically, most like debut books or like first books or anything like that, depending on the genre and audience and everything, is between 70 and 90,000 words. If you're writing an epic fantasy and it is already like over 100,000 words, you can write that for yourself. If you want to seek traditional publishing, if you want to seek like even like self-publishing or whatever, and you want people to actually get invested in the story, don't start with a tome. Don't start with a with a doorstop. And I know that Brando Sando does it. He's playing a different game than we are, all right? He's on a different level. We can't necessarily start out with a 200,000 word story. So I would recommend breaking that into smaller, more digestible chunks, because you even have to think about it from the reader perspective. If I'm looking at a book that's that thick, I'm like, I'm never going to get through this, all right? Like, I don't even know what this is about. It's me in The Way of Kings. I want to read The Way of Kings, but it's so thick. It's got like 3 prologues. I get intimidated. I've just never started. I've never really committed to it. You need to get your reader invested first. So making sure that first book of your series or of the world that you're building or whatever is much more manageable, much more digestible, and really shooting for that like 70 to 90,000 word range is ideal. But the book, honestly, aside from that, the book is as long as the book needs to be. It could be a novella. Sometimes books are as short as 50,000, 40,000 words. It all depends. I have a friend, Ignat Stovedin, and his whole thing at the beginning was like writing snack-sized fantasies, and his books were like 40,000, 50,000 words. Quick, easy, fun, snack-sized, like great to get into. Maybe plays a little bit better with like shorter attention spans. It was a great idea. Now he's in his 45-part series, and the books are getting longer because the story is getting better and better. But starting small, thinking smaller, 70 to 90,000 words is a great place to begin. How do I write better dialogue? You guys, this is a good one. I think it just takes time. It takes time. It takes practice. You're going to write garbage at the start. I wrote for 10 years before I published a book, and a lot of what I wrote was garbage. I liked writing it. It was fun. I like going back and saying like, wow, this is garbage. But a lot of it is practice. Practice, observation. Like, look at how people are texting. Look at how people are speaking. Pay just like a little bit more attention in your conversations for how people are speaking, because that is going to vastly improve dialogue. Another tip that I would say is think about who the character is and how they would speak. For example, in my story, The Wild Sky Legacy, I have a character who's an actor. He's very dramatic. But to kind of aid that, I give him a little bit more of like a light Shakespearean flavor to his dialogue. Sometimes it's like he says "tis," like, "Oh, 'tis the reason that I am doing this," or like whatever. Like it sounds a little bit more like stuffy playwriting a little bit. But one thing that I really did that I think is a little clever is I gave him cadence. He speaks in pentameter. 90% of the time, a sentence that he says has 10 syllables in it. It has like this meter. It has this cadence to it. 10 syllables per sentence. That's like kind of how he talks. Because I wanted him, he has this like acting background, and he is dramatic and speaks very eloquently. Like at one point he he's a greaser, right? Like he likes to he can talk his way in and out of any situation. And at one point, Beto, the captain, is like, "Oh, Rowan, we need you to get us into here." And he's like, "Oh, dear captain, that is my sweet," what does he say? "My sweet bread and garlic butter," or something like that. You have to think about the character, who they are, how they would speak, and add in some of those elements to really bring them to life. But again, it's practice, it's observation, it's paying a little bit more attention to how people talk, how they text, how they communicate, and then trying to cut out as much fluff as you can. People speak to their point, but also everything that they say is layered. Think of idioms. It takes time. There's a whole lot of great videos, and maybe I'll do a whole one about dialogue. How do I overcome writer's block? Well, okay, so I think writer's block is actually a symptom of a much bigger problem of you don't know what's going on in the story, or you don't know where it's going, or how to bridge things. The Storyteller's Almanac is all about making sure that you are eliminating writer's block, massive rewrites, inconsistencies, and plot holes from the get-go. Check it out. But how do I overcome writer's block? Part of it might be a motivation issue, which again, if you are relying on motivation, don't. It's all about discipline. But ultimately, I think writer's block is something that is a symptom, not a problem. And that symptom is that your story is lacking structural cohesion. It's lacking a central idea that everything revolves around. You need to make sure that your foundation is set first so that you can avoid problems like big writer's block later down the line. And Storyteller's Almanac is all about fixing that problem, setting that foundation. How many drafts should I write before my manuscript is done? When is it done? I struggle with this. It could never be done. You could tinker with it forever. You as a creative, you as an author, eventually need to make the decision. Okay, this is good enough. Is it perfect? No. Do not expect perfection. It will never be perfect. But you need to be able to understand that it's going to reach a point where you have accomplished what you set out to do. Is the story core that you identified in the Storyteller's Almanac well and truly understood by the reader? Have you really gotten through all of that? Have you explored that idea? Has it come to a meaningful conclusion? Have you gone through and made sure that the characters are sharp and vibrant and recognizable and iconic? Again, you could take all the time in the world. Typically, for me, I have my principal draft, which is like the initial draft. I send it to an alpha reader, and they read through it. And then I have my alpha draft. I send it to beta readers, and they read through it. Maybe it goes through a developmental draft. And then typically it's like the copy edit and the proofreading, which sometimes I do at the same time. So we're looking at like 5 or 6 or 7 drafts for one story. And that is an act of love. Like, that is not something you do in a month. That takes years, potentially. So you got to really love what you're writing. But you got to love it enough to let it go, too. You got to reach a point where you're like, okay, this is as close to perfect as I can get to it without becoming obsessive. It's time to let it go. It's time to share it with the world.